let's take you straight out to Munich, though, where our very own Geoff Shreeves is standing by. Jeff, good to see you. Well, that was the greatest margin of loss for Inter. For PSG to win this trophy that they've been so desperate for in this fashion is pretty special for them, isn't it?
Oh, Poppy, they were absolutely sensational. Of course, there'll be a long inquest as to how bad Inter were, but take nothing away from PSG. They were simply irresistible. They were magnificent. They had so many good players. They swarmed them, their movement, their speed, everything. And it was strange. What almost set the tone for me wasn't one of the goals, was just before their second goal, they should have conceded a corner by any right. Pacho gets himself up high around his opponent, keeps the ball in. And from that break, they go away and score their second. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. And as for Désiré Doué, what a night for that young man. I think the DJ got it right on the final whistle. Bear in mind, 2 goals and assist when he played, slight twist, 3 from Desire.
Jeff, how does this change kind of the vision in European football? Because for so many years, the storyline was PSG doesn't play in a great league. When they get to big games, they can't compete, right? And the project looked completely different. How maybe could this change the way we're looking at PSG?
Tony, it changes everything. They have just announced themselves good and proper on the European stage at the top level. They will be taken so seriously now, and it's not just a flash in the pan. Yes, they lost the final a couple of seasons back, but, sorry, 5 seasons back. They are now back in the big time, and it wasn't just a win, it was a statement win. As Poppy said, biggest ever margin of victory, not just in the Champions League, but in the European Cup that you and I are old enough to remember. It was a stunning performance. They obliterated their opponents. I mean, for the last 30 minutes, you looked at Inter players that just didn't want to be there. If they could have walked off the pitch, they would have done. They got such a shoe-in. If anything, it could have been 6 or 7.
Biggest competition in world football, most exciting. Obviously, these two teams that, you know, fought to be there. They go, they battle. There's a bloodbath on the day. What did the stadium look like with 10 minutes to go? I know you talk about the players. What did the stadium look like with 10 minutes to go? What did the PSG fans look like, and what did the Inter fans look like?
Well, Grella, it's funny because the PSG fans started the party before kickoff. Flares were on before they'd even scored their first goal. And I thought, well, have they got another level to go to, these fans? The answer was, yep. They did not sit down. They were the jumping and moving and doing the Poznan. The tifos were being waved. The banners were out. They absolutely stormed it. You could see the connection. And when the 3rd, 4th and 5th goal went in, the whole substitutes bench invaded the pitch. You know, and when you've got the manager putting players on just to give them a touch of the ball in a Champions League final, you go and enjoy the party, lads. You have a touch as well. It was just incredible stuff, absolutely incredible stuff, and fully deserved. You know, I think of all the great stories in there tonight, so many different ones, but do you know the person I'm most pleased for is Marquinhos, because he is their longest-serving player. He's the record appearance holder. He was just 19 when he joined the club back in 2013. He's the one that's left who suffered the indignity of losing in the final, or not the indignity, the heartbreak. For him now, as the captain, to go up and get that trophy, what a fantastic moment for him.
It feels like justice, doesn't it, Nigel, for this team that tried it all, that tried all the superstars, that had Mbappé, they were begging for him to stay, and now he departs with Messi and Neymar, and they finally do it.
Justice in the sense of going with the team dynamic, believing in the team philosophy, and then on the game today itself, I'd have to say, we say about championships are won by defence. Yes, that's when you're playing in a long season, domestic season. When it comes to one-off cup finals, aggression, belief, desire and front foot football will get you that, because it's a one-off game. It doesn't rely on getting 3 points, 1 point to build on for the next week and next week. This is a one-off game, and the approach by Paris Saint-Germain was the right approach to do in a cup final.
I think it's a clear picture of building, right? And we talked about this team that finished 14th in the group phase, and they continue to build. We keep talking about January, and they kind of turned the corner, and they were getting better, and we started to see it. And this is a clear picture of having an idea, having an identity, clearly having a style of play, having a manager who believes in young players, and they put it all together when it mattered. When it mattered most, that's when they were at their best, and they didn't change their principles today. We were talking before the game about, Grella, who would sort of break the mold. I don't know that Inter had an opportunity to even get into their mold to try and break it.
Yeah, they couldn't. And, you know, I just think that there's an element in football that you can't put your finger on exactly how to do it. I think PSG tried to do it originally. They just threw money at the project and try to get it done. But there's an element of football, and I can tell you that you can't put on a stat sheet. And I could tell you one moment that I saw it, why this PSG team won, was in the 70th, I think it was late in the game. They were up 4-0. Kvaratskhelia makes a 60-yard run backwards. He's already scored a goal now. He's one of the top players. He's won 4 different trophies this season alone, just went for 80 million. He's making a 70, 60-yard dash back for his teammates, tracking Dumfries, who was the most dangerous player against Barcelona, just because that's what it meant to be a good teammate at that moment. That's what it meant to be a winner. And PSG have that formula at the moment, which they didn't have with the high signings. And that's what makes football fun, is nobody knows. You're ahead of a project, you try to put it all together, and money doesn't answer all your questions unless you put the thing together perfectly. And that's why Tony mentions the word growth. I think that's the most important part of it. You see organic growth with this PSG side. The right team won, no question about it, and the quality won on the day.
Because we were just talking, this is a team that really stumbled, didn't they, in the league phase? They had to play the qualifiers just to get into it. But I suppose it's all about timing and coming into form, right, Nigel, at the right time?
Yeah, they came into form, they grew. They grew in confidence and they grew, like Tony said. And for me, Vitinha there, for me, was absolutely sensational. When you talk about the art of playing centre midfield, there's many different dynamics of playing centre midfield, whether you're a ball winner or a box-to-box. But for an all-round player where you could say he's in that world class, that's Vitinha. Because what the world-class midfielders do compared to the rest is they are comfortable to dictate the play. They're comfortable to say, right, we're going to play slow, we're going to keep possession, or now we're going to speed it up. And that's what he did the entire game, dropping in pockets, getting the ball, being comfortable, and then he speeds it up. You talk about the greats that have played the game. You talk about the Roy Keanes, the Vieiras, the Essien, the Yaya Touré.
Nigel Reo-Coker.
That's him. I know, I'm different.
Did he get as many yellow cards?
No, he didn't. But he was sensational, though, Poppy. That's what it is for him that separates him from the rest of other midfielders. Yeah. He dictates everything.
Did you both feel like this tie was over much before all those goals went in?
I actually felt right from the beginning that PSG were just literally a class above Inter. I think actually, I put it in a different way. I think today was a shift in how we play football. What we saw today was the hard work of a coach who's had an idea, looked at his players, looked at how well they can perform, and he's maximized that, and he's put it together in the team. And they struggled. They were 15th in the group phase. They weren't playing particularly well. They've lost a few games, and then they played Man City in Paris and beat them 4-2. And I remember speaking to Vitinha that day, and I said, where did that come from? He says, we are a fantastic team. We're a better team than we've ever been. And I asked him, can you win this tournament? And he said, yes, we can. And today they proved that. And I think, Guillem, I don't know if you agree, but today was a shift. The way you play football going forward, if you want to compete, is by attacking, having flair players who plays in a team format, who works hard, Dembélé, closing Jan Sommer down all the time today, and at the same time being solid at the back.
Can I get the clip of that, please? Because I've been using that flag for 6 months at least, if not longer than that, that the shift has happened. It has happened. This is the predominant model of our times. And this is not just an example of it. It's where we're heading. It's a very, very good example of it, by the way. But this is, can I say it, Pep's football, which is the same one used by 5 out of the 8 quarter-finalists of the Champions League, 3 of the 4 semi-finalists and the winners. And as Peter says, the feeling here, and having spoken to some Inter players, is that from minute 1, Inter were not going to get to the ball quick enough. They were not going to find out exactly what's going on because there was so much fluidity. This is positional football, the brand of football that Pep Guardiola has put in practice, and that right now you've got Liverpool doing it, City doing it, Arsenal doing it, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, PSG, Barcelona, and by the way, Real Madrid will go and get Xabi Alonso, who are going to practice this football as well.
He's going to do the same.
How about the shift in mentality? We were talking about it earlier with regards to PSG, right? This was the team that played in Ligue 1, that could never compete because all year they didn't have a lot of competition and they would never win Champions League. How does today change the narrative?
Yeah, I don't think that was today. I mean, that was basically the moment they got Luis Enrique in. That's when the shift started or began. I have followed PSG, and the first final we had on CBS was PSG against Bayern Munich, and I was one of the lucky people to be in Lisbon during COVID to see that final live, and I've been following them for the last 5 or 6 years. 5 years. 5 years we've had, and I have never really liked not PSG, and not like the way they went about it. You know, you buy players, you pay them a fortune, and one of the reasons for that is coming out claiming that we can now win the Champions League. And then when you're watching them, it's 7 players working really, really hard and 3 players doing nothing. And that's not how football is, and that's not how you win it. Now, since I watched that game against Man City, I've been a massive fan, because that's done in the right way, with the right personality. And it's not superstar, well, they are today, by the way, but it's not superstars being brought in to create this team. It's brilliant to watch.